Hello and welcome back to Sports for Dummies. In today's episode, we are reviewing the AFL Grand Final for 2025, Geelong v Brisbane. Guys, half-time, 39 apiece. First time since 1909. Then Brisbane came out, did the unthinkable, hit the detonator and exploded Geelong away. What do we think of that one?
First of all, welcome to Jamie.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Josh.
New panelist member. Now,
Excited to be here.
it's good to have you here, mate. Now, to your question, I think it was Brisbane Masterclass.
It was a Brisbane masterclass, was it?
I think it was pretty eminent throughout the whole year, obvious that they were the best side in the comp. They dispatched of everyone, and every time they got beaten well, they would come back and beat them again. They did it to Collingwood. They did it to Geelong. They did it to the Gold Coast. I think that in hindsight, they're just the best side.
Was it a Brisbane masterclass or a Scott meltdown?
I think it was a Brisbane Masterclass.
Yeah, I reckon it was a Scott meltdown.
Explore that.
I was lost at the selection. I mean, Stanley inclusion into the ruck just disrupted the entire structure of Geelong's game plan. Shouldn't have even been a consideration, Stanley playing in the ruck. I mean, his injury led Blicavs to play in the ruck in the qualifying and the prelim, and his performance in those two finals were exceptional. And the other thing, that playing Stanley in the ruck, it upsetted our back six. It forced us to play Sam DeConnin away as a secondary ruckman into another key defender. So I look at Brisbane and, Gallup and Morris were not going to be the two forwards that were going to kick Brisbane the winning score. And, when you've got a Sullivan, Henry and DeConnin as your three key defenders up against two tall defenders, we were too top heavy.
Though you're not wrong on that, I still think I've got to give some credit to Brisbane because the scores, the stats, they were dead even. It was one of the most even grand finals of all time to half time. That last 5 minutes of the third quarter, there was numerous instances from your players. So Bailey Smith bitched out twice. Stengel bitched out. There was a couple of occasions by Myers. Brisbane were just tougher. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with Stanley because there's 22 people there's 18 on the field. I think Brisbane, it doesn't matter. Even if you had those changes, I think Brisbane win.
I think every day of the week. I mean, their injury list was pretty impressive for Brizzy as well. I know you guys had Stewart go out in the prelim, that
was huge.
That's a huge loss. Your vice captain out. The only one that I was a bit skeptical of, but it would have been because of the knock, Dangerfield in the last quarter. He just wasn't himself, was he?
Look, Danger was quiet. He was sensational in that prelim. But going back to your point, Johnny, and Geelong won by 7 goals in the qualifying. You take out those 2 Rayner goals just before half-time. Stengel was lining up, so there was a 3-goal turnaround. Geelong were a 10-goal better side in the qualifying final. They were 11 goals down in that fourth term. So you're telling me it was a Brisbane masterclass, 21-goal turnaround in the space of 3.5 quarters. Doesn't make any sense. And this genuinely reminded me of 2008 Grand Final. I think it got to a point where Brisbane genuinely believed, that we are a better side than Brisbane. They were levelled up at half-time. I think the confidence that the Brisbane players had been levelled at half-time going in, and then you've got the super sub in Lachie Neale just behind the corner. There was this genuine belief, and once Neale kicked that goal to get him 3 goals in front, the floodgates.
That was symbolic, but to your point, to say yes, Geelong were 7 goals. They won by 7 or 8 goals or 10 goals, whatever it was qualifying. That's happened to Brisbane multiple times this year. So they got smashed by the Pies at the start of the year. They regrouped, beat them twice. The Suns beat them before the final just a month before by 10 goals, and they beat them by 10 goals. This side is that good that it didn't matter what you did. They learnt from the loss from you guys, and then they came back. They just have stars everywhere too. I reckon their star power is a lot more than yours is.
And Fagan's commented that on the group. They're a resilient group. They learn a lot from their losses. He's a teacher by trade, and he's got a mantra that you learn more from your losses. For me, though, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, John.
Go.
Let's have a look at Geelong. And this is the conversations I was having with a few key Geelong in our catch group, right?
Ask me the question, James.
All right, let's have a look at Geelong's back 7, including the rotation. Sam DeConnin, O'Sullivan, Henry, where you know that O'Connor's going to play on Rayner.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Zach Guthrie, Humphreys, and Jai Clark as the seventh rotation off the bench. You try and match up against Brisbane's front six. It just can't happen. I couldn't find the matchups. I'll look at Henry on Morris, O'Sullivan on Gallup. There's your two key defenders on Brisbane's two key forwards. We knew O'Connor going in was going to play on Rayner. It was sensational in the qualifying final. But Zach Guthrie on Bailey, Humphreys. I mean, who was going to play on Cameron, Lohman, Bailey, and who's the other one I missed out? We got Rayner with O'Connor, but it was just it really upset our back six massively. And the other thing that Blickass added in the ruck, it's not what he does in the air. He turns himself into another midfield, and when you got Mullins playing as a defensive midfield stoppage player, we don't get anything from Mullins as an offensive midfielder. So all of a sudden, we lost what Blickass was able to do at ground level. And you just look at his stats in the qualifying final against Brisbane. He had 20 touches, 20 disposals. He laid 7 tackles, kicked a goal. He was again sensational in the prelim final. He had 13 touches. He laid 12 tackles. 12 tackles. So his follow-up work at ground level was massive. So I would have taken Blickass on McInerney every day of the week. I think concede the aerial tap work. Ground level, we would have had that additional mid. And then the other thing I asked you, where does Blickass play? Now, Stanley, as a second ruckman, but when he's not going to play on the bench when Stanley's on the ground.
So my opinion, so I actually agree with you. I reckon they were bad strategical changes that were made and Blickass was in great form. However, Brisbane have also beaten you 3 of the last 4 times too, and I think they have so many weapons. I just don't think that was the reason you lost. I think, and if you watch that third quarter, they just wanted it more, really, in that last 5 minutes. They just wanted it more.
Yeah, and it's amazing in the game of footy, there's momentum swings. And when a side gets a genuine belief in what they're doing, the momentum shifts can change. And late in the third quarter, you look at Geelong scoring power. We're the highest scoring side outside Adelaide this year. But we just couldn't get the flow, and we didn't have that drive off half-back. Of course, Tommy Stewart was a bit of a loss, but we just needed to be better at ground level behind the ball. I think Jed Hughes should have played on Cameron. If we were to play Stanley, Sam DeConning shouldn't have played.
No, he was horrible. He was horrible.
But for me,
he was horrible.
Stanley doesn't play. We had a makeup that worked in the qualifying final. So, Chris got he said after his press conference he's going to have sleepless nights and get up at 2 or 3 in the morning, Josh, and start pondering what went wrong.
Do you reckon there was? I know you've mentioned a few players that could have done things differently. Do you reckon? Obviously, with Cameron going down, it's a big loss. Jezza, it was a stress fracture or something like that, wasn't it? In the end,
he did his arm.
Yep. But then he had a heroic chase down tackle, which led to a goal for you guys.
Yep.
Was there anything different that they could have done? Up to on the back of just that momentum swing in the premiership quarter.
Well, it's hard to stop momentum. I think there was just genuine belief with Brisbane. They were levelled up at half time. They were able to clear out 2 goals. And, like Johnny said, that symbolic goal by Neil to get them 3 goals up. And then the floodgates really open up. The air of confidence in the Brisbane group.
Yeah.
And Brisbane are an amazing side. There's no question.
Well, McCluggage came out, kicked 3 in the last.
He was great, but they had stars everywhere. But that's how Brisbane play. So if you actually look at it, they're a very inaccurate side. But they just have a lot of shots. But you even look at the Collingwood prelim, they were pretty ordinary at points. The moment they start to actually hit the scoreboard and get the 6-pointers, that's when it changes. When Logan Morris kicked that goal for Brizzy, that's where they started just to hit every goal. It was starting to go in. Cameron kicks that bullshit goal on the boundary line. Levi Astroff sells to Candy.
And then kicks it for 50.
And then it looked really hard, but Geelong still did all right. Shannon Neal kicking that massive goal, I was like, oh, geez.
It was 60 out, that bomb, wasn't it?
Oh, sensational.
It was sensational. But then, that once they, if you look at how they play, they actually they miss a lot. But once they kick that first goal, they have super belief, and their stars dominated, where I think your guys, a lot of them didn't, Max Holmes was okay. Like, I know he got a lot of the ball.
He
but
did a lot of
didn't
clearance
do much with
work.
it. Dangerfield was a completely different player to the prelim. Jezza was clearly hampered. But then you look at Brisbane Stars, the Ashcroft boys. I thought Zach Bailey was the best player on the ground. He's like that far. Like, he moves like Dustin Martin. I don't know, he doesn't look like him, but he actually moves like him. Sensational. Cameron just seems to stand up, even though I think the last 2 years that everyone says he's quiet, but he bobs up in the finals. Always does. They just have so many weapons. Loman with a shaved head is like a 2 times better player.
He looked like he came out of fight.
This is the thing. The players you're mentioning, Johnny, are all the small forwards that roll up the ground. And the Zach Bailey, for me, Max Holmes on the halfback flank. If Max Holmes is playing on Zach Bailey, is Zach Bailey all of a sudden starting to get a bit worried by what Max Holmes can produce? You look at what Max Holmes did in the third term against Brisbane in the qualifying. He sat on the back flank for 10 minutes and was super damaging. So we needed that real drive off halfback. We needed to be more focused on Brisbane small forwards. And unfortunately, Chris Scott went too top-heavy back in defence. And it really did hurt. And Stanley in the ruck, I've got no doubt that was a major, major error.
It definitely was. And small forwards in grand finals are the ones who win it.
And wingers.
Do we think, talk about a tactical sub, now that they're taking away the sub, do we think that Lachie Neale, your captain, coming on just after half time, completely swung?
I mean, I said it how symbolic it was that all the way up, he'd had an injury before the qualifying final. So he played 1 game in, 9 weeks. The whole thing is, is he going to be too sore? Is it worth the risk? You saw what happened to Collingwood when Pendlebury went out early, completely ruined their midfield and from a leadership perspective. I think they did the right thing. He came on with fresh legs. So, it was fine. And then when he kicked that goal, it was just symbolic of the whole week. Yeah. Even though it was only 19 points in the context of the game, 3 goals for how tight it was. There was no way Geelong would win in the game from there.
Oh, it unleashed the floodgates. That premiership quarters, goes down in history. It's a one you want to forget.
Premiership quarters undefeated.
Oh, well, to be honest, going into the game, I wanted Lachie Neale to play.
The entirety of the game, or just the?
Well, we saw what happened in 2022 when Johnny Longmire, who was it? Was it Reid? It took a couple injured players into the game, and it didn't work out for him. So Lachie Neale to recover from that calf strain, that was a massive turnaround. But Fagan was really confident that he could get through, and they had a plan. I mean, what a great plan too, just to hold him back, wait for the game to open up a bit, and they go into half time leveled up with Geelong. In my mind, a better side, and that's going to give him a huge amount of confidence. Then knowing, Lachie Neale's about to
be unleashed, and
suit up.
That's the first time. A bit of a fun fact. That's the first time that's happened since 1909 in a grand final.
What's happened?
Being scores level half time.
Yeah.
I remember checking at halftime. We were in Geelong, and I remember looking, and even kicks, handballs, disposals, inside 50s were pretty even. It was so close. The only thing that wasn't even was the free kick count in Geelong's favour. I think there was like 12 or 13 in favour of Geelong.
17-3.
But you wouldn't have known that being in Geelong, because all you heard was how bad the umpires were, and it was like, it's the most lopsided free kick count.
Where do we now? I know Jeremy Cameron wasn't the same player after half time with his arm, but where do we rank Harris Andrews' performance? You talked pretty heavily on it, Johnny, last episode. Where did you have him? Well,
that was the biggest turnaround in Harris Andrews played real. I thought he was one of their best players in the qualifying final, but he wasn't intercepting. He was having to spoil. This game, he was allowed to do what he wants. How tall is he? 7 foot? That guy can just do whatever he bloody wants. He just controlled that back line, and Geelong had no answer for him. And it just felt like, I haven't seen Geelong play this for a while. There was a lot of long kicks where he just picked them off, and he was taking his grabs. That was the difference from this game to 3 weeks before.
Yeah, the qualifying final, I thought Andrews, you're right. Andrews was great, but he defended by spoils, and versus going for the intercepts. He was somewhat criticised in that qualifying final for that. But, that allowed a repeated stoppage inside, Geelong's front half. And he made a conservative effort in the semi against Gold Coast. again in the prelim that he was going to be more aggressive in the air, and he did the same against. He was brilliant. Gold Coast, Collingwood, and
I think
to
he
back
was
that up in the grand final.
He was the
Final
finals
series.
player of for them. He would be the finals player of the year.
Yeah, look, he was absolutely sensational. And there was a couple of moments though. I think our execution by foot. I thought Shannon Neal was a little hard done by. He had Harris Andrews off the back a couple of times, and just poor disposal through that central part of the ground, and he was able to intercept. And then you look at what Scott did to overcome that. He then plays Blickarves as a defensive forward on Andrews. Now, Scott has not played a defensive forward on a key defender all year. So, yeah, it's certainly rattled.
It's funny that Blitzarves thing because Lee Matthews, we know, is a super coach. You can tell even for his old age, he knows more than anyone. He was on the couch and everyone was, saying they had to bring Stanley in. I'm talking Buckley, Lewis. Lee Matthews is like, why would you do that? He's a big-bodied midfielder, pretty much. Absolutely. And Geelong's form is on fire. Why would you ruin it? He was the only one. They kind of scoffed at him, and it's like, well, there's a reason Lee Matthews has coached 4 grand finals. He knows football. He's been dominating as a player and coach since the 60s.
Well, John, what did I say to you before the qualifying final? I was wrapped that Stanley was injured. It forced Chris Scott to play Blickarves.
It was talked about a lot. It was good.
And I think the other one is I do like the tagger. The tagger was back. I thought Mullins was sensational qualifying, prelim.
Jeez, and then when he kicked that goal in the first half, I thought Geelong McCluggage, bye.
He kicked the goal in the qualifying, his first goal in the qualifying.
Yeah.
So he kicked, his only 2 goals are on McCluggage. But yeah, look, Blickarves, where do you play him? When Stanley's in the ruck and Blick's on the ground, we're already 2 top heavy down back. We've got Dempsey and Bowes on the wing. Our front 6 is set, and I think we've got one of the most powerful forward lines in the game. Where does Blick go?
Well, he's sort of like a defensive Kurtafidis.
No, but if he's not playing ruck, my question is, and this is the problem with selection.
This is the problem with a player like him where it's too much.
Where does he play?
Well, he's played everywhere.
So can you see why the Stanley selection implicated a lot?
It did.
It implicated us going too heavy down back. We didn't have a focus on their small forwards. When Blickarves was on the ground, when Stanley was in the ruck, where does Blick go? So it was a total disruption. Lee Matthews is at 100%. 100% right.
Let's go through the star performers for the day of the grand final. For Geelong, we're going to start with losing team first. Dempsey kicking a bag of 4. That's a pretty good feat.
All right, I'm going to pass this over. I don't always agree. Me and Jamie have many conversations about football, but he made a prediction all week. Now, when you're doing bets for grand final day, you bet on everyone. You have a little bit of this, bit of that. You got a lot of multis. All week, Jamie was like, Dempsey's going to have an all-time game. He's going to have an all-time game in a Geelong win. He's going to take one of the great grabs, which he almost did, I think, twice. He kicked 4, which had him down to kick 4. And I think he was probably your best player. He was definitely your most important player.
I had him as a first goal scorer.
And you had him as a first goal scorer. So well played to you for that call. He was awesome. He just gave them...
Hold on. Who was going to win the grand final? What did you guys predict? Just FYI.
It was Dempsey in a Geelong win.
Obviously, I still felt...
I didn't even know he kicked 4.
So going in, Josh, even though I didn't want the Stanley, and we know my thoughts on that right now, but
you didn't want to play Brisbane.
I generally felt we were a good 7-8 goal better side than Brizzy. Bringing Stanley in, I felt that was going to bring it back to around a 2 to 3 goal. That's how much I thought it was a bad decision leading into the game. So no, I was still
pretty confident.
Still confident that we could win. And I felt Ollie Dempsey. And when he kicked that first goal, I thought, all my predictions are going to come
And then
true.
he almost took... It could have been paid, that grab.
Yeah,
They could have been paid.
Should have paid the grab, but...
He did play well for those who cared. I had Brizzy and Ashcroft for the norm. I thought I was pretty good. But I thought it was going to be a lot closer.
You were very good.
Well, the only reason I had that is because I'm an Essendon supporter. And we don't like seeing other teams win.
And I wanted to delete you out of the chat.
No. All right, we're going to run it. Holmes, I reckon, was your Second best, well, arguably best on 33 disposals, 907 metres gained for the day.
Thought he was terrible with the ball in hand. He chopped it up. There was a couple of play when he was forward of centre, probably 75, 80, and he just butchered it in the middle of the ground. In fairness, that first quarter, Geelong and Brisbane probably had the most turnovers I've seen from quality sides. The pressure was that good, so we'll give everyone a pass.
Well, you got 100,024 people watching you at the G with 4.1.
But the players are just the pressure. However, Brisbane eventually got over that. Holmes, that's the problem. He had a lot of the ball, but I reckon he was a direct result of a couple of goals by just butchering it centre of play.
Did he have enough help though? Like who else was? I mean, Jamie, you probably
But these were easy skill areas where he's by himself. I'm not talking about. So that's a different thing. He probably didn't have enough help, but this is where he was by himself. There's no reason to stuff it up. Jamie said it about Neil. There was a couple of times that he had Andrews off the back where a simple kick was ruined. Holmes was responsible for a couple of pretty bad plays. Yeah.
Well, Bailey Smith had 29 and 8 turnovers.
He was responsible for them losing the grand final in that 5-minute mark because when he tapped it and then he couldn't pick the ball up and Zorko went right through. Might have lost him the grand final.
Zorko was a star.
Your boy Bailey.
I actually really like him.
Max Holmes, he got a lot of it, but his ball use was absolutely shocking. Same with Bailey Smith. I thought our mids just didn't execute by foot.
Yeah.
Whether that was the pressure, but this was genuine. Skill errors. It wasn't. It wasn't like their turnovers were based on high pressure at the time. They just weren't hitting targets, and the ball movement wasn't great going in.
All right, we'll go into Brisbane Stars. You had Andrews with 9 marks. He was the defensive general for the day. You had Bailey, your mate, 3 goals, 6.
I think Bailey, I thought he was the best player on the ground just in terms of setting from start to finish, how he actually moves. If you look at him, he actually has a lot of similarities to Dusty, where he kind of goes everywhere. He can float around the half forward. He can inject himself in the middle. He can burst with pace. He can get the hard ball. I mean, what did he kick? 3-6?
3 goals, 6.
I thought when he kicked
he was that X factor.
So I thought when he kicked that third goal, that was enough for him to win the norm. At 2, I probably didn't think he was. When he kicked third, I'm like, he's going to win it. I reckon he was the best player.
The only person who would have stolen that, just from, I guess, an energy spark, was Charlie Cameron. Kicking 3 in the third, and that last, he was that Energizer Bunny that they needed.
If you look at it, he kicked 3 goals in 6 minutes. So the last 5 minutes, he kicked 2. Yep. And then he kicked 1 in the first 20 seconds. So he kicked 3 goals in 6 minutes. For a guy who, it seems to happen every final series, they go, oh, he's been quiet by his standards. Well, he kicked the goal in the prelim against Collingwood when they needed that shift as well. Yep. His defensive pressure in the first quarter against Sydney in the grand final last year, I thought set the tone. 3 goals in 6 minutes.
Game over.
Well, the thing is with Cameron too, he's had an ordinary 2 years, but he's just stepped up when it's counted.
Well, round 22, he was pretty shocking. I think he had 6 disposals.
And if you're playing with Charlie Cameron and you're seeing him do that in the third term, kicking 3, I mean that gets the team up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's and you could just see, perfect word, that energy. The confidence just really started to build from there.
We got 2 more players in the star performers for Brisbane. I'm gonna lead though, because my next question is going to be about one of them. Ashcroft. 2-time Norm Smith, 32 disposals, 10 clearances. That was a star performance.
Has he got a better start to a career now than Joel Selwood?
100%.
Yeah.
But he's the one we think of. He won 3 and 5. I think
Joel Selwood never won the 2 norms.
He's won the 2 norms. I mean,
it goes up into.
Do you know what? When obviously Scott plays Mullins as that defensive mid, going into the qualifying final, I generally felt Will Ashcroft's the one that you need to stop. He's unbelievable by hand. And I know Fagan's talked about it as well, but he's really improved his ability to explode out of stoppages. And he's hitting the scoreboard. He's been able to contribute. I think he kicked 2 goals in that prelim final. So he's an absolute talent. That 1-2 give just opens up the play, doesn't it? You see it with his brother. His brother does that.
That was a brilliant goal.
The Ashcroft boys
who would you rather right now, Will Ashcroft or Nick Dacos?
So I reckon
I think Dacos is, from his body of work, week in, week out, but I don't think any Brisbane person would say they would want Dacos over Will Ashcroft.
Not a chance.
Because his ability in finals and grand finals, I think, is better than Nick's. And are they that far apart during the year? Probably not this year. I think if you asked me last year, I would have said definitely Nick.
It's a tough question, isn't it?
I think, if you look at what Ashcroft has done in the big times, you can't go past it.
Joined elite company.
Elite company.
I
Dusty.
think Nick's definitely, he's had, more consistent over his last 3 years, but geez, when it comes to when
The
it
crunch.
counts,
I think he'd be great at like if you had Dacos at Geelong on the outside ball, you've got enough.
Don't give him more
No,
players.
but what I'm saying is Ashcroft can. That's why he would have got the norm. He had 10 clearances on the day. It's huge.
Yeah.
And then the last but not least,
I hope you bring up another player.
McCluggage. 26.
I reckon McCluggage. I reckon McCluggage has been their best player in prime time. He had one bad game against Geelong 3 weeks ago, where he had 14 touches. But the stats on his performance in last quarters has been huge. He's really gone to that other level. And to shake off when Mullins kicks that goal against him after completely toweling him up, to then go the other way in that second half, and he ended up with 4 goals. Oh, I think he's an incredible player. He's the perfect prototype for a footballer. Like he's strong, he's pretty tall, he's fast, he can burst, he can hit the scoreboard. I love McCluggage.
The Glug is brilliant, but you go back to the qualifying final, Mullins was an absolute glove against him. And this is another, Chris Scott coaching.
Well, they had him on the bench.
That moment when Bailey kicked probably 2 or 3 behinds in that first half, they were missing those shots on goal. But where was Mullins when McCluggage was on the wing and hit up Loman in that first quarter? Where do you think Mullins was?
Bench.
That's what you said, yeah.
Qualifying final, well, that just doesn't happen. So he just followed him everywhere.
Yeah, if you don't
need rest, if you're going to tag him, be on when he's on, and then be off when he's off.
There was plenty of moments when Mullins wasn't actually, whilst he's there to tag McCluggage, he was off him a lot of the time.
And he can rest when McCluggage goes off. Well, that's the whole point of a tagger.
This is what the surprising thing is. It's again, you look at rotations when you've got Dangerfield, Holmes, Smith, Mullins doing a defensive, and Atkins.
He's more of a run with, he's not a tag, he'd be more run with.
Where do the other midfielders go in the middle, like when with Mullins? So it just upset a lot.
Do we reckon McCluggage is one of the most underappreciated elite players in the league at the moment?
100%.
Yeah. You look at the stardom in Brisbane's squad. How can you finished second in the BNF?
Not from me, because I've always rated him. I think he's one of the biggest reasons for their rise. But yeah, he doesn't get talked about in the media and whatnot like the big stars. But to me, I think that doesn't surprise me. He's been doing it all year. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. But yeah, I don't think he gets the kudos like everyone else does. Who's
to blame? I guess I know you've said Geelong. You've said the coach. You've said Chris Scott.
Reece Stanley.
But do we think it's is it the coaching? Is it the personnel? Is it the players? Is it some of them? Was there just, players in the Geelong squad that just didn't turn up on grand final day?
Josh, I'm going to say something to you. And I feel like we're entering into another era of greatness when it comes to coaching. Mm-hmm. Chris Scott, and he's actually rated the most unpredictable coach to play against. And he actually loves that. Look what happened in the Clarkson era. Look what happened in the Hardwick era. Like Geelong had a game plan, which was slow ball movement from defence, up against the manic ball movement of Richmond. He couldn't beat Hardwick, couldn't beat Clarkson. And now he's facing the next greatness in Fagan. So we lost a prelim final last year and now a grand final to Fagan. So Chris Scott, look, he's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. These great coaches have got this amazing ability to win premierships in a small window period. There's 8 premierships since 2013 that Geelong's been thereabouts and had every opportunity to win.
As in, you've made the granny or the prelim. since then. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was one time we didn't make the finals where we finished 13th, but on 2 occasions we finished on top of the ladder. So
2 of those, if the ones that I reckon you should have probably won, if you look at it, it's I think 2013 was the one that slipped away, and last year where you're in the box seat.
yeah, but that comes down to Clarkson, great coach, Hardwick had this amazing ability to have this game plan. Like you look at the back end of 2016, geez, no one gave Richmond any chance, and Hardwick is a great coach, and now we're entering into fate.
Into Brisbane. Well, they're the only team of this century, or not the only team, the 4th team to do back-to-back.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about coaching and the team and getting the right players in at the right times.
So the back-to-back, so you got Brisbane, Hawthorn, Richmond,
And Brisbane,
then
yeah.
Brisbane. And ironically, 2 of those teams actually 3-peated.
Yeah.
So there's actually a fair possibility.
They could do it
Because
again.
unlike those sides who are getting old to win their third, this side almost, it's like they're almost
Coming.
year 2. Yeah.
Come and catch us. And let's have a look at Brizzy's back line. Zorko, what an amazing move last year when Coleman arguably is one of the best halfback flankers in the game.
Wasn't even playing.
He was their best player in 2023 in the finals.
When he went down early last year, they made that decision to shift Zorko to halfback. Wilmot. Now, one of the players I thought you were going to mention is Fletcher.
He's been great, isn't he?
Everyone talks about, Will and the Ashcroft boys, but geez, Fletcher can play.
That's an unappreciated. I think people rate him. He is someone that is not talked about.
Well,
He's a gun.
He's got a great ability to, defend and win the ball off the back half. His ground level's great. He's great in the air. I think he had 28, 29 touches in the grand final.
Just casually.
Just casually. Do we reckon Geelong is going to be there next year?
100%.
Yeah, but it's like I'd like to see the trade period at the end of this year, but it's pretty much the rich are going to get richer. You're pretty much competing with Brisbane here. I think it could be daylight. Geelong will be competing for second. I don't think Brisbane lose.
This is where going into the off season, and I know we're going hard on Curnow. I'm not too sure on that.
You're giving us every pick that you have for like 15 years.
And I don't think it's the greatest move. Geelong needs to sort the backs 7 out. For me, O'Sullivan, Young Gun, Henry, they're your 2 tall defenders. Who's our small shutdown defender? Like Jed Buse is getting on.
Buse is.
I think Jai Clark reminds me a bit like a Tommy Atkins.
He was good. He was good in that prelim.
It was when Tommy got injured. He's a contested midfielder, and that's where Tommy Atkins went and played in defence. So I think Jai Clark should assume that role next year. Then you've got your interceptor role, Zach Guthrie.
He was shaky in the granny.
But for me,
very shaky.
It's the 2 attacking halfback flankers. You look at the drive. You look at the drive that Zorko and Wilmot bring for Brisbane in their transition game. They were brilliant in grand final. But who's the attacking weapons for Geelong? For me, I'm putting Max Holmes and Tommy Stewart as those 2 drivers. Because then you add the wingers, then you add the half forwards that roll up.
Well, your attackers are more your half forwards and wingers who are having to play that role.
No, 100%. But then you still need your attacking.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're having to actually do that job where you probably need a player like that to support 100%. And that's why back to whose fault was it, who was to blame. I just think Brisbane are a better side. So I think you just got to give them credit. They won by 8 goals. They've gone back to back. And hindsight now, that win by Collingwood in 2023 is actually a great grand final because for a couple of umpiring decisions, Brisbane could have won 3.
100%.
To say that Geelong melted down, but yes, they made some bad errors, but I think Brisbane win, and they have. They've panched Geelong through the last 4 times. So no, it just is what it is.
Look,
it just is. So for him to say that they're a 7-8 goal better side, I just don't buy that because you've beat them once, while the other times they mentally owned you going into that qualifying.
Look, we lost the last 3. I mean, you look at the prelim last year. I mean, we were with Max Holmes' injury away from entering into a grand final, and Dangerfield went to water when he thought he was going to get reported and not play. I And Geelong has previously matched up exceptionally well against Brizzy prior to that prelim.
Well, they've had an interesting era.
I genuinely believe, and I talk about structures in footy, and it really disrupted our system. I felt we were too top heavy, and it was a bad call from Scott. Now Brisbane are the powerhouse. Who's going to stop him?
Let's see how the trade period goes.
I think Geelong and Hawthorn are the two sides, but Geelong need to work on their back six.
Well, this is where this trade that's another time. But the trade period is going to be the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
Us Essendon and Carlton supporters over here will just be sitting back and watching Geelong. I'm not going to say.
Just watch the rich clubs just pick up, Gold Coast is going to get the Petrarcas and just move on. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll talk about it next week. If Brisbane does three-peat, that makes them a dynasty.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I said it, well, me and you said it at the start of the year, not stylistically, but this Brisbane side is the closest thing to the original Brisbane side. Not stylistically, but that old Brisbane side,
their midfield depth.
Well, the midfield, but they had stars on every line, from back pocket to half back, all the way to the forward line. Yeah. They were just all Australians, whether they got it or not. They were all genuine stars. This Brisbane side has so many weapons.
And you look who didn't play. I mean, Hipwood. Look. Do you know what?
He was important.
Let's go through there. Actually,
you probably go. Sorry, Josh,
they lost Danaher at the start of the year.
But Hipwood, Coleman to come back next year.
Barry didn't play.
Barry didn't play.
McCarthy.
Well, he just
Dodie.
He just doesn't get a game.
It's depth.
Dodie, Ainsworth,
Payne.
Ainsworth's one.
Yep. And Payne. Yeah, that's Joe
Danaher was I reckon one of their most important players for 2 years in finals.
Yeah.
In 2023 and 2024 from a structural. He goes out of the side. Hipwood now has to play as the number one forward. Then he goes out. And then you've got Logan Morris, who's got a better start to his career than Brown. They're just too powerful. I just think they are.
Morris is a star. He's an absolute star, and I think Gallup's shown in his fifth or sixth game. He's got what it takes. But geez, they're a scary proposition. Oscar Allen. How does he get a game?
I don't think he does.
Draper.
I mean, is he?
So Draper, I reckon
Draper plays definitely, but like what I'm saying is adding those two, that's huge.
So Draper, I reckon Draper does a Danaher, like same sort of attitude. Leaves from he could be the All Australian ruckman next year.
Yeah, I rate Draper. I think
he was good at the Bombers.
You know what's funny? Everyone who's good at the Bombers sucks at the Bombers goes and does really well anywhere else. So. I reckon they'll do really well.
Well, no, look, I mean, Brisbane won everything this year. NRL, Grand Final, AFL.
What are they putting in the water?
Well, it's better weather.
They just wake up with happiness.
I mean, they're just happy people out there.
Oh, that's good. Now, there was a performance, but it was off the field. Bailey Smith on Mad Monday. Geelong's performance with Mad Monday. What did we think?
What did he do again with it? Was this a Caroline Wilson thing?
You put the birdie up.
Who gives a fuck? Who cares? The media just like to drip this stuff.
You're a Carlton supporter.
No, I'm just saying I hate how the media are going at him. That's my opinion.
Well,
it's overblown.
It's good that you're defending your boy Bailey.
What do you think of that, Jamie? Because it is an interesting.
It's Geelong been rated as the number one Mad Monday dress-ups for years. So, I think Bailey Smith and Johnny did mention that, it's going to upset the culture, but it is starting to change the perception around the club. From the outside looking in, I don't think his antics. He does need to bring it in, and Geelong was typically a well-liked club. It's not so much now. Like you just feel that Bailey and the high profile he brings and what he's doing, I think it's upsetting that perception.
Will that ruin a little bit of the culture next year?
Look, I see Bailey Smith like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, that's true.
Phil Jackson, his philosophies were around African tribal. And I can't remember the term what he called Dennis Rodman, but basically that
Wayaka or whatever it was. Yeah. And it was called backwards. It was translation backwards walking.
Yeah. So they accepted Rodman. He was different, and that was why.
Don't put a saddle on a Mustang. Just let him do his thing.
That's why Phil Jackson was great. And I think we've got enough leaders, there to quell Bailey.
Now, I wish we had have had the Snoop Dogg thing integrated into this Roadcaster, but what did we actually think of the pre-game entertainment? Is it becoming a bit too much like the American halftime show? Is that what we're trying to gear towards? What did we think?
I don't watch them, so I don't know. Like, do you care?
I think
do you when on grand final day? Do you watch the entertainment? Because I know I just don't.
You love footy though.
I just love the footy. Yeah. So I've been to NFL games, and I actually think it's a bit much because there's a lot of breaks, and they're always putting entertainment like even in between games, and I hate it because I just want to watch the game. And they're trying to advertise at you. I mean, I know it's the grand final, but it's just, I don't know. For me, I don't think it suits. But I also don't watch it too, so it's not like I can really judge it because I'm not watching it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, I think after the Meatloaf performance, the AFL have had to bring in the high profiles and spend a lot of money to make.
Can only get better.
I was probably into my third or fourth beer for the first time in a couple of years, so I didn't watch it. But Twilight AFL Grand Final, I think
it's coming.
It has to happen. And when it comes to entertainment, like you look at NFL, it's just much better at night, right? So I think that day leading into Twilight should happen.
That's actually fair because you see it, they've got the lights on, everything's a bit darker. Then you see Snoop Dogg when it's sunny as you can get. It just the vibe. You're right. That probably could change it.
What do we reckon based on this grand final? What's one storyline that will be consistently talked about with this AFL grand final?
Well, I think it's just how good Brisbane are. Just a second year. They've gone back to back, which is very hard to do. Geelong know that very well. I just think how strong this group is. Like, you look at 2023, they just lost to the best side all year. And when you look at it now, hindsight, they probably could have won that grand final. 2024, I think everyone was writing them off and saying Fagan needs to be sacked halfway through the year. They go and win the grand final from outside fourth, and they were 7 goals down in the semi and 4 goals down to Geelong in the prelim. This year, they had probably the hardest draw, which I think everyone agreed on. The amount of injuries, Danaher going out at the start, then injuries to key players, and they really limped. Like, after that Geelong game, the narrative swung, and they were like, are they too beaten up? And they just smacked everyone since then. So I just think it's the narrative going forward is just going to be who can beat Brisbane, because I think it's their grand final to lose.
Well, it doesn't get talked about. I mean, we can celebrate Fagan, Brisbane, and everything you're talking about, Johnny, but this is not going to get talked about in general mainstream media. But what should be noted is Chris Scott and his coaching selection and Reece Stanley. It's dramatically upsetted the overall structure.
Are you saying that we should get rid of Chris Scott? Is that what you're saying?
I'm joking.
At least Reece Stanley.
Do you know what? I think Chris Scott is a very good coach. He's not a great coach. And Clarkson, Hardwick, and now Fagan. They've all outcoached him. 8 premierships, all chance in probably 7 of those years. So,
right, let's help out.
What about you, Josh?
I think.
What do you think was the takeaway?
I think one thing that will be spoken about, because it's probably not going to be, it's not going to be spoken about next year. Super sub.
You thought that was the biggest thing.
One of the best shifts. I mean, having your captain on the bench, being able to coach players there as well, and then come on and kick a goal the way he did, 17 touches.
What was it, 9 clearances?
Yep, and he had, his calf's still not that good. I think he can't go past, a captain's game, and that's a true captain's game.
If
you're the rest of the competition, and we all are here, how do we go about beating Brisbane? What do we need to?
Well, I think
teams need to do?
I think it's going to be. Prior to this year, the comp for about 2-3 years was pretty even. Like, I think up till about 12th or 13th games mattered. Anyone could jump from the top 8 down. This year, it showed the actual difference between the 2 top tiers. I think it's going to get even worse now. So how the teams beat Brisbane is all going to be done this week. And at the trade table, I think this is the most important trade week in history, and we will talk about that next week. But that is what's going to determine who beats Brisbane.
Jim, what about you? I know you've got your analysis eyes going pretty hard.
Well, I think Hawthorn and Geelong are the two sides that can do it. Maybe an ACL to Will Ashcroft.
Never wish upon the mate. Wait, hold on.
Harris Andrews to pop a
Wait, to be fair, Ashcroft did the ACL, came back round 16, wins to Norm Smith that year.
Oh, he's a superstar. But
That's good.
look, Brizzy, they go in as and so they should. And do you know what? It comes down to coaching. Like I genuinely believe coaching has a big say. And Fagan, you could just tell the players just love him. Tactically, he's fantastic. The way he positions his players and the moves he makes, great. He's brought a lot of resilience into this group. Like you said, Johnny, they do very much learn from their lessons. Then you look at Sammy Mitchell and Chris Scott, who I think are the two competing coaches. Sammy Mitchell can be a little quite unpredicting as well, like Chris Scott. But the Geelong and Hawthorn are the two lists that will contend Brizzy.
Jeez, I reckon, again, wait till trade period, but I'd like to see who Gold Coast, if they land Petrarca and their natural progression with the coach that they have.
Actually,
he's
yes.
thinking,
let's await what happens over trade.
Yeah,
I did love the speech from Sammy Mitchell when he got up and he goes,
was
"I hated the grand
fantastic.
final. I hated watching it.
You're right. That was great.
I want to win. We want to be there. We're close. We're just not there yet."
Sam Mitchell just demands excellence, doesn't he? And
he learned that from Clarko.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think where was Sam Mitchell when West Coast won the flag?
That was the West Coast, wasn't he?
As a midfield coach. And, he was the masterpiece behind their midfield. I would have, if I was West Coast, I would have got rid of Adam Simpson and put Sammy Mitchell in straight away.
Was Adam Simpson worked under Clarko as well?
I don't know if he was under Clarko. No.
All right. Is Will Ashcroft the new Dusty of this era?
Oh, let's
No,
relax.
we're doing it.
Let's
No.
relax. What I will say
No,
is
but
what I will say, I reckon Joel Selwood from awards and achievements was probably the best in the modern era, like the best start to a career. I think I'm not going to put him in the Dusty category yet.
saying, can he be that?
Of course he can, but he's definitely had the best. He's definitely had the best start to a career. I don't know who's got a better start to a career.
Well, we're 3 years into his career and he's won 2 Norm Smiths, 2 premierships. So, like in 10 years' time, he could be a 5-6-time premiership player, 4 Norm Smiths. And
does that make
maybe
him the
Brownlow.
GOAT? That makes him the GOAT, wouldn't it?
And at Brownlow. I mean, for me,
Who knows?
All right. If you could sum up the AFL 2025 Grand Final in one word, just one word, what would it be?
One word.
You start. I already know what mine is.
I've got one.
Okay, you go, Jim.
Stanley.
Mine's Neil.
Dynasty.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're on their way.
That is good. Guys, that wraps it up. I think we've touched
good.
about everything. Back to back for Brisbane Lions. Can anyone stop them? It'll be an interesting period over the next week. And that's when we'll be seeing you next, talking about all things trade week. Thank you so much for watching.
See you guys.
See you guys.